To be honest with you, I'm also dreaming of becoming a mother, you know. Do you think, it is possible for me to be a fashion model
Yes.
at this age?
Yes. Well, I don't know, 25.
Ready? Action.
Actually, I was shocked when I saw you first here because you have, great skin and, gorgeous hair, and I love your outfit,
Well, it's a Korean.
Oh, really?
A Korean designer, yes.
Actually, my first question was, tell us about the concept behind your outfit, but actually this one is Korean clothes. I didn't know about that.
Yes,
Wow.
I said if
Beautiful.
I'm going to be interviewed in Korea, I want to wear Korean designers.
Wow.
So the wardrobe stylist put it together.
And actually, in Korea, when you have gray hair, we feel like, getting older and, becoming less attractive, as a woman. But you're still very attractive with gray hair. Yeah.
Not only that, but people are really loving it, and they're letting themselves go grey too. But then you still have to have an edgy cut. So you see, otherwise you can look like a grandmother.
Oh, right.
And I have 12 grandchildren, but I still don't want to look like a grandmother.
Really? Will you ever think about, dyeing your hair again?
I will, and I dyed my hair for 40 years. It
I
is
see.
so hard, to keep the color going. It's so much work. You don't get the color right.
Yeah.
And then your hair's dry and frizzy. And now it's natural and it's healthy. And I just shower and leave it. And it looks good the next day.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then could you tell us about your beauty secret? How do you take care of yourself? And please just tell us one daily practice we can follow.
Yes, well, first of all, I'm not naturally lean, so I have to be very careful about what I'm eating. And now that I've eaten the Korean food, I see I have to be even more careful because the food is so tasty. And then you can overeat. So then I have to say, all right, now I'm full. I can just taste little things because I really can't eat past that, otherwise I gain weight and then I don't fit into this beautiful outfit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So that's why you are very gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be very careful. And then if you eat well, because I'm a dietitian, it's my real job.
Right. Yeah, I know
supermodel
that.
is now new.
So can you tell us about the story when you first started the modeling career?
Oh, I started at 15 and I didn't expect to be a model, but my mother's friend had a modeling school, so she wanted me to do the modeling course, and I did it and I thought I was terrible. And then she started booking me for runway shows, but because I was the science nerd, I really was a good student, and it just carried on. And then at 20, I won beauty competitions, which is, something I didn't want to do, but then my boyfriend had cheated on me, and I was very sad. So what can be worse than going to losing on a beauty competition? But then I won.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize that. And then, of course, I got married and had 3 children in 3 years.
Yeah.
And even in my book, I talk about you get a lot of rejection.
Yeah, right.
But not rejection from my age, rejection just because I was modeling my age. Rejection because that's not what they were looking for. And but now I get very little rejection, actually.
Oh, already? Yeah. You are very successful supermodel right now.
Yes.
So we brought, several pictures, of your symbolic moment. So this is the first time posing nude.
Yes.
Yeah, for Time magazine,
Yes.
right? And then this is for the New York magazine.
This was the health segment of Time magazine. When they wanted me to do it, I said no, 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 no. But the woman who was the casting director, she kept on seeing me walk my dog and she thought I would be perfect because they want to show about aging. Well, first of all, I called Tosca, my daughter, and she says, you don't do nude. I said, I know I don't do nude. So then I called Kimball, and Kimball says, oh, Mom, it's Time magazine, you'll be okay. So then it was really, they treat you very nicely. You wear your robe the whole time, and then they bring you the robe, and then you're done.
How old were you at the time?
Oh, I was very young, like 62. Around 62, very young. And then, of course, because I did the nude one, then they wanted me for New York magazine. So, wow, you had your baby late. And how come you're so slim now? I said, I didn't have the baby. Inside it says it was photoshopped onto me. Because you can't have a baby in your 60s.
Yeah.
But it was very controversial because it was about older women having babies. And it went worldwide.
This is very iconic to challenge what you think is too old to give birth, right?
Yes. Well, I was also early 60s and they wanted me to look 70.
Oh.
But then look what I look like at 74. I mean, so they obviously had no idea what I was going to look like.
When you get older, we want to hide our less elastic, body actually,
Yes.
right?
But did you see I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit edition?
Yeah, I saw it.
As soon as I wore this first swimsuit, it was really comfortable and felt good. And everybody said, oh, you look great, you look great, you look great. So there was no mirror, so I couldn't see how bad I looked. And then they'd have me, in the water, and then trickling the water, and then lying down and posing. I thought it was crazy, but then they put me on the cover.
Finally, you took a stage at the luxury fashion show in the New York Fashion Week for the first time. At the time, you were 67,
Yes.
right? And then you appeared in Beyonce's Haunted music video. At the time, you were the 69, and then you become an oldest cover girl in history.
That was a very special.
And you also appeared in billboards in Times Square. Here, right?
I know.
Wow.
I've got a cute photo on Instagram where my daughter goes, oh, that's my mom.
And what all achievement mean to you?
Well, it's very surprising because, you do think as a dietitian, I would just continue giving talks and writing about things, and nutrition expert, because then I would talk about diabetes and heart disease and osteoporosis and anti-aging by eating well, I didn't expect that this would be happening. They just needed a white-haired model, and they just wanted to represent women of all ages. Wow. And then, of course, social media helps a lot because my first runway show was from Facebook, and then Instagram and Twitter. Instagram gets me the modeling jobs, and then Twitter gets me my book publications worldwide. That's why my book is in Korea.
Wow.
Yeah.
But here is my question. Haven't you ever thought how wonderful it could have been if it happened younger?
Yeah, I know. Why did I struggle so much? Why did people not want an older woman to be in beauty campaigns? But I did do quite a few beauty campaigns, but not with my name, and I didn't, you weren't special. I wasn't a supermodel or anything. I did them and got paid nicely, but not great.
To be honest with you, I'm also dreaming of becoming a model, Do you think, it is possible for me to be a fashion model?
Yes.
At this age?
Yes. Well, I don't know, 25.
Thank you.
How old are you now?
Actually, 47 years old now.
47. 47 is when I moved to America.
Oh, really?
Yes, at 47,
Wow.
I moved to San Francisco because my kids wanted me there. And then at 49, I moved to New York. So, and always starting my modeling careers. And every time, it's because they needed an older model. You would, I don't see why you can't model at any age. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm very honored to hear that,
Yes.
I can be a model in Korea.
Yes, you can be a model in Korea. Okay. But you have to work on your Instagram and your social media. What's the most popular social media here?
Maybe Instagram?
That to me is my model portfolio. So you need to then start getting your portfolio together.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then people say, ooh, you're so fabulous, and then they book you for jobs.
I'm always wondering, you are very interested in, you are very good at, social media and tech at your age. What drives you to keep studying tech?
Well, I always was ahead of the time because, first of all, I have Elon who helped me keep ahead of the time. I was the first dietitian to have a laptop because I needed a laptop. Wow, that was like 25 years ago. It was the first laptop out because when I go on a modeling job, I need to still carry on my work because I would write articles on nutrition issues. And so then I was also the first dietitian to have a website. And then I was the first model to have a website. Yeah. I had them separately, but now I have them together. And each time it's painful to learn the new technique. Yeah. Even with Instagram, if they update it, or even your computer, when they update it, everything goes wrong. Yeah. And you have to learn everything over and over. And I think I spend 3 to 4 hours a day on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And that's because it's better than lining up in an audition. Because an audition can take 3 to 4 hours to get there, line up, do your, hope they don't reject you, then come back. And now I don't have to audition. Yeah, but you recently also jumped to the NFT business, right? I did one NFT, yes. Well, I was doing a job and then they said, can we do an NFT? And I said, sure. And at CAA, I was the second person to ever have an NFT, but I don't know how it's doing because I don't know how to find out. Okay. You've been modeling for 5 decades and also working as a nutritionist, getting 2 master's degrees. And then, but actually it is very difficult, for anyone to have different 2 career paths, right? So was there any hardship, to achieve them? Well, first of all, it's hardship all the way. and doing Master of Science degrees is a lot of work. Right. My kids hardly saw me. And then the thing is, I didn't focus on modeling. I just focused on being a dietitian, and I wanted to be the best dietitian in the world. That's why I was studying so much. And even now, I have to do 75 one-hour exams every 5 years to maintain my registration as a dietitian, because I have to be up to date on science. Because there's research work coming out all the time, and I need to be an expert in that field to maintain accreditation. So that is still what I do, but the thing is I don't have a private practice anymore. And modeling was part-time, but now modeling is really busy, but I don't have a practice anymore, so then I do have the time to give talks and to travel, and travel to give a talk as well as to do modeling. So it's really like my dream come true, but it was never my dream, because you wouldn't dream this would happen in your 70s. And then, do you think, what was the motivation behind all of this achievement? I think it's just because I don't like getting bored and I love research work, so that's one thing. And then when it comes to modeling, suddenly they wanted me to do editorials, they were creative, they were doing weird looks on me, and they were fabulous and people were loving it, and that didn't happen before, I just love working with very creative people who make me look fabulous or weird. I don't mind either.